All right, so we are going to today talk about zero and negative exponents. So if your exponent is a zero or if your exponent is negative, what can we do? So we've multiplied exponents or powers. We've divided powers. Now we're going to talk about if there are some exponent changes we need to do. So an exponent of zero, anything with an exponent of zero, always equals 1. So if you have x to the 0 power, you're going to change it to the number 1. Or if you have y to the 0 power, you're going to write 1. If you have negative exponents move up or down. So we kind of talked about this yesterday when we were subtracting, when we were dividing, right? Our division showed us the subtraction part. If you have a negative in the numerator, which is the top, it moves to the denominator. And if you have a negative in the denominator, it moves to the numerator. So once you've moved these, once you've changed it, if you did the 0 exponent, right? If you change your 0 exponent to a 1, it disappears. And you move your negative exponents. If there's a negative on top, it moves to the bottom. If there's a negative on the bottom, it moves to the top. Then you can expand and do everything that we've been doing. So let's do one that has this in it real quick. So if I look at number 7, problem number 7, I'm going to look to see, is there a 0? I don't see a 0, but I do see a negative. And what that tells me is that this needs to move to the top. So I'm going to have 4y x, 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 x. And then this y to the negative 2, it's on bottom. I'm going to move it to the top. Y, y. Over, and this moved to the top, so it disappeared, and I'm left with a 4 in the denominator. And now I can use my rules for division. I can simplify. 4 over 4 is 1, and I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. And there's my answer. Let's try another one. Let's do number 8. So I have 3, and then I have x to the 0, and x to the 0 is the number 1. It disappears. X to the 0 is the same thing as 1. I don't need it because I've got a 3 there, so x to the 0 just cancels out. It's gone. Then I'm left with y over 3 x, x, x. I'm going to simplify my coefficients. 3 over 3 is 1. Does anything cancel out? Nope. I'm left with y squared over x to the 3rd. All right, let's try number 1. Looks a little bit harder, doesn't it? Well, I've got a negative exponent, and it's not on top and it's not on bottom, but it could be over 1. So I take my negative 4, and that tells me, a negative exponent tells me it's on the top, tells me it's going to move to the bottom. So a to the 4 moves to the bottom. This 2 stays on top. A Oh, and then I've got b squared. Where's that one going to go? That one's also going to move to the bottom. So I have A, 4 A's on bottom, and B, 2 B's on bottom, because it's negative. I get 2. That cancels out, and that cancels out. I'm left with A squared on bottom, and B squared on bottom. Let's do number 2. I have 3u squared v to the negative 2 times 4u. So that looks like 3u, but v squared goes to the bottom times 4u. So 3 times 4 is 12. 1, 2, 3 over v squared. Let's do number 12. X. Oh, I've got y to the negative 1, so that goes on the bottom. Then on the bottom, I have 2x, y. 1 over 2 simplifies to 1 over 2. Cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out. I'm left with x on top. 1, 2, 3, y to the third. Let's do number 5. So I have 2u to the negative 3 v to the negative 1 times 2u v to the negative 1. So let's write it. 2u to the negative 3, that's on the bottom. V to the negative 1, that's on bottom, times 2. U, that's on top. V to the negative 1, that's on bottom. 2 times 2 is 4. U and U cancels out. U squared, V squared.